It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Sam Lesante Show, and welcome to the Lesante household. We're doing our shows here from my home, and hopefully you're doing well. My guest today, we have two guests. Senator John Yudichak is on with us, and also Congressman Dan Meuser. Trying to give you an overview of what's happening in our counties and what's happening in the state. Hopefully this thing will pass. Senator Yudichak, it's always nice seeing you.
Great to see you, Sam. Hope you and your family had a wonderful Easter, even in these challenging times.
Yes, we did, and I'm sure you and the girls got together and had a great time. I hope you're taking care of those kids.
I am taking good care of them.
John, I'd love having you on my set, but via Zoom, we're going to do our show. Try to give us an overview of what's happening in all the different respective areas of this COVID-19.
Well, it can't be overstated. These are unprecedented times. Nothing has gripped the world like this since World War II. So this is our generation's challenge to rise to the occasion, to put politics aside, partisan politics aside, and deliver for the people of Pennsylvania and the people of this great country. First and foremost, we have to protect public health. And our area hospitals are doing a tremendous job. Lehigh Valley Health Network in Greater Hazleton is doing a fantastic job. John Fletcher, their CEO and president at the hospital. We have daily conference calls. We are trying to react to where we see a surge occurring, and it's largely more than 1,500 cases that we have in Luzerne County. And when you think of that, Sam, over 1,500 cases in a county of the size of Luzerne, only 320,000 people per capita, we probably have more cases than any other region in Pennsylvania. Yes. Allegheny County, for example. Yes. Allegheny County, 1.2 million people. They have less than 900 cases. We have over 1,500 cases. So we have a serious issue specific to Greater Hazleton, in large part because we allowed essential businesses like our logistics industry, our meat packaging industry, to continue to operate. Unfortunately, the Department of Health did not issue an order until April 6th, just a few Sundays ago, the Sunday before Easter, about cleaning and disinfecting these facilities and practicing social distancing. So we had to respond locally, and the local communities responded. The Mountain Council of Governments, headed by Dan Guidish, the South Valley Council of Governments, headed by Sam Gusto, we formed a regional partnership, and Jim Montone was terrific from Hazel Township, getting their code enforcement officers into these facilities, into these large industrial facilities, where in some cases, more than 1,000 people were going to work on a shift every day. We want to make sure they're practicing social distancing. So not only can we protect those workers, we can protect the public health.
Where are we heading right now, and what does it look like from your perspective, John?
I think you're starting to see some of the cases come down, but you have to remember, this is a highly contagious disease, easily spread. We have to continue to practice safe social distance. And we have to respect that we do not have a vaccine for this disease as of yet. So we're in this for the long haul. There's still going to be a lot of work that has to be done. We're still going to have to be smart. The governor has closed down our public schools for the remainder of the school year. They'll have to operate online. Many businesses still remain closed. We are talking in Harrisburg this week about making sure that we have conformity. Unfortunately, what we saw happen in what was determined by the governor's office as essential or non-essential business, there was not a lot of transparency to that process. Over 42,000 Pennsylvania companies applied for a waiver. Only 16% of them were granted a waiver. We don't know why. We don't know how. We do know that those businesses that were allowed to operate did not have the resources, and certainly not the enforcement, to make sure that they were abiding by the rules that all of us are trying to abide by. Safe social distancing, making sure we're flattening the curve. We need to make sure that if we have businesses that are open, and some of them need to be open, we need to have essential business to make sure there's food on the shelves, to make sure that there are prescription drugs in our pharmacy, and making sure that we are protecting not only life and health, but we're also protecting the health of our economy. 1.3 million Pennsylvanians, Sam, signed up for unemployment compensation. 1.3, over 12% of our population has signed up for unemployment benefits. That's an enormous strain on our system. That's an enormous strain on our economy. We need to think with both sides of our brain in this crisis. We need to certainly protect public health, but we also have to start thinking about our economy as well and making sure folks have resources. The federal government, Congressman Dan Meuser and his colleagues, both Republican and Democrat, have done a wonderful job to drive trillions of dollars out of the federal treasury to Pennsylvanians to make sure that we're protecting small businesses, getting unemployment benefits to those that are unemployed. We have put over $500 million on the table in Pennsylvania, $450 million in a new program for our hospitals, in addition to another $50 million infusion into our hospitals. Our hospitals are doing remarkable, heroic work. They're the heroes in all this. Those nurses, those doctors, those healthcare professionals, we need to make sure they have the resources. We need to make sure our businesses have the resources to get back up and running. And we need to make sure that Pennsylvanians, we're protecting their public health while we're also protecting their paycheck.
John, you get advice from the health officials as to making the health decisions, governmental decisions. You know, you're an expert at that. Okay, so how do you get these two things together? I mean, where are you getting your information from to make these determinations as to how long certain things have to be practiced or whatever, and how do you know what businesses should start opening?
Well, that's the key word to me, Sam, is collaboration. What the breakdown that I've seen at the federal government level or at the state government level has been a lack of collaboration. When politicians are making unilateral decisions without looking to experts, whether they're healthcare experts or economic experts, that's when failures are going to be made. The governor made a unilateral decision to close certain businesses in Pennsylvania. There was no collaboration with the legislature. There was no collaboration with the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce. It was a decision made in the heat of a crisis to protect the public health. And I understand that. But now we have to step back and say, look, we have to collaborate. We may be in a crisis, we may be in an emergency, but let's put, if, as President of the United said, this is a war against the COVID-19 crisis. Well, let's put those war cabinets together, get experts from industry, government, and healthcare in a room together, planning both strategies, protecting public health and protecting the welfare of our economy to make sure there are jobs to go back to. We can't have 1.3 million people out of work in Pennsylvania and expect to get a state budget that's going to be able to appropriate funds for our hospitals, for our schools, for our first responders, and for the general public. We need to get smart. We need to collaborate. That's the key word. I'm not seeing it when the governor went to the Emergency Act. All his powers since that moment has come from that single act. The General Assembly has been unfortunately cut out of the loop on many of these decisions. I think it's responsible. I think the governor and Secretary Levine have done the very best they can. They need to do more to collaborate with the General Assembly, with private industry, to make sure we are doing everything we can to protect the public health and get this economy back going again in Pennsylvania.
John, as you know, there are many, many people suffering right now financially. And, they have their light bills, they have the utility bills, they have food that they have to put on the table. So it's a struggle for a lot of people right now. Some banks and some utilities have been working with people in defraying the payment of the bills for 2 or 3 months. What do you say to some of these people that are not participating in helping these unfortunate people out?
Well, I think from a standpoint of if you're unemployed, labor and industry, we need to go and get you to ucpa.gov. Go to that website and apply. For the first time in a long time, self-employed businesses, independent contractors, because of the actions Congressman Meuser and others, Congressman Cartwright, those independent contractors, those self-employed, they're going to be eligible for unemployment compensation benefits. That's going to help sustain many of our small mom and pop restaurants and shops to make sure that we can bring them back when this crisis is over. So they need to go to those agencies. My office remains open. We got a 24/7 operation. Even though we are not physically in the office, we are remotely helping constituents and businesses get the resources that they need. Federal government has taken unprecedented action. State government has taken unprecedented action. But we need to continue to collaborate to help those people that are struggling right now. And they're going to struggle for a long time to come if we don't get our economy, if we can't work with both sides of our brain to make sure we're protecting the public health and protecting the economy.
What's happening in government right now in the state of Pennsylvania?
We have two bills. One would create a task force of the three branches of governments, the courts, the governor, and the General Assembly. We need that task force. If you saw yesterday, the governor announced that he's forming a task force with governors of other states. That's fine and good, but we need to work together in Pennsylvania to protect Pennsylvanians. We need the judicial system, the legislative system, and the executive branch working together to combat this crisis. That's a Senator Dave Argel out of Schuylkill County. That's his bill. We would create a task force to do that. I'm going to be supportive of the measure. The other measure is a bill that would conform our business guidelines with the federal government to make sure that there's uniformity across the board. There's transparency. We know why one business is open and why one is closed. The other would allow, there would be amendment to this bill tomorrow from Senator Scarnati that would allow counties to make a decision through the CDC and through the Department of Health. The county would be empowered to make a decision of whether they could open up their economy. Some of our counties have less than 5 cases that have not seen the high rate as Luzerne County has, or Philadelphia, or Montgomery, or Monroe. That decision would be driven to local governments through coordination with the state and federal government. Again, back to that word of the day, collaboration. We need to be more collaborative to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the two problems that we have before us, the COVID-19 crisis and the crisis of a crashing economy. We are in a recession. We are teetering on the edge of a depression. We need to respond. Government needs to step up, take action, and work together collaboratively to help the people of Pennsylvania.
Well, John, I can tell you this. We can always count on you. You've been very aggressive and are on top of things, and we appreciate that very much. I know all of your colleagues are working the best. I appreciate you taking the time. You know, we're always available to you to get the word out. My daughter happens to be on that task force here in Hazleton, and so we're getting his information every day to the public. Appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to share your information with us today.
Thank you, Sam. Stay safe.
Folks, you're watching the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, 24/7 SSP TV. You can watch us on the website. Comcast 190 in the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Hazleton area. We're on Comcast 190 in Scranton and Channel 92 Saturday and Sunday evening, 7 to 11. We'll be back right after this with Congressman Meuser. Well, welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, I'm telling you these shows are extremely important. So 24/7 SSPTV.com. All the shows are there in detail. And remember, Comcast 190 in Pottsville, 7 to 11 p.m. every day. The Wilkes-Barre Mountaintop, Kingston area, we're on Channel 92, Saturdays and Sunday evenings from 7 to 11 p.m. And of course, in the Lackawanna area, Comcast 190 Sunday and Saturday mornings from 8 to 11 p.m. Joining us now is Congressman Dan Meuser from the U.S. 9th Congressional District. And Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to be with you virtually anyway.
Interesting times, Dan, isn't it? Very interesting times.
That's for sure. Whoever said may you live in interesting times, I don't think they lived in interesting times.
That's right. Well, listen, we got about 13 minutes here. I'd like for you to give us a review, Dan, about the state of affairs in Pennsylvania with the COVID.
Well, I think overall we in Pennsylvania should be pleased with our current state of affairs, with some glaring exceptions. We clearly have a couple of hot spots here in the east, Monroe County. It's terrible what's happening in Hazleton. So of course people come first, right? So we all have a role to play in social distancing and behavior. If you can work at home, work at home. If you can stay at home, stay at home. If you can help lend a hand and help somebody out, do so in the safest ways possible. Do wear the masks, right? I mean, whether or not you're for them or against them, wear the mask at this point. The sooner we respond to this in an aggressive way, the sooner it's over. We're also, these recovery checks that people have been waiting for, that got issued in our CARES Act. The U.S. Congress passed the CARES Act. There'll be nearly 70 million checks being sent electronically via direct deposit to taxpayers. Anyone who made less than $75,000 in 2018 or 2019 will be getting the full $1,200. Social Security recipients will be receiving that as well. There's more to it, but if you are waiting for a check in the mail, go on the irs.gov portal and provide information so as you can receive your check electronically. It'll get here much faster. If the only way to get you a check is by mail, you will not be getting it until May. So this is really important. And if people need help, first of all, they can go again on irs.gov, but they can contact my office, Meuser.house.gov. We are here to help in that regard for any questions. But we're working all day long. My staff, myself, both in Washington and in the district, we're not off. Our office is closed, but we're all working 12 hours a day, seriously, at least. We're working on the PPP program, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, to make sure that all small businesses are connected with a bank, their bank, or any bank that's participating in the program, and that's any bank that's FDIC insured can participate in this. So we're in the process of lending out and receiving applications and establishing the loans, setting up the loans for over 1 million businesses already have applied and been accepted, so as $350 billion of forgivable loans are going to be extended within the next couple of weeks. So we're focused on people, we're focused on employees, we're focused on employers, and we're, of course, focused on hospitals. I mentioned to you, I was just on the phone with St. Luke's. We're making sure that St. Luke's and many hospitals, Geisinger, you name it, throughout the district, Lehigh Valley, we've been helping with quite a bit, particularly the Hazleton Hospital. Make sure they got PPEs, make sure that the ventilator need is met, make sure that they understand the funding that was part of this bill. Nothing's perfect. There's many glitches. I mean, frankly, folks, I was in private sector for 25 years. That usually doesn't work right. Not all the time, but more often than government works right. But there's a lot of good things happening. There are glitches, but we're fighting through them. We're working through them. We are available. I'm using the resources of my office to help to connect the right people with who they need to talk to. And very often the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I'll also put this in for the SBA. The SBA, the Small Business Administration in Pennsylvania, has been extremely helpful. They've been terrific. Talking to banks, talking to businesses, talking to us, training. We're doing teletown halls with banks, with businesses, with the general public. So a lot happening, keeping people informed. But I think I think Pennsylvania, our cases, I think are starting. We're getting past the curve. I don't want to be optimistic. I like being a realist, but I still like looking at the glass as half full. And I do think we're getting past the curve and soon to be on the other side of this.
You mentioned something about, in business, there's always, you run into glitches. Okay. So I know paperwork is not the easiest thing, because there's two areas. Number one, for the paycheck guarantees on the loans. There are some businesses that are applying, and they're running into a couple things where they need additional paperwork. So has the government released or reduced some of the paperwork? I know you have to be in order here. They're not just going to write a check out to you, but have they been reducing some of those amount of paperwork?
Yeah, on the recovery checks, so the economic impact checks, we're calling them now, people don't have to do anything, right? I mean, vast majority of people, if you file the tax return, you're going to receive in direct deposit a check. If you're on Social Security, you're going to receive a check. Only those who receive their Social Security checks by mail, or if they filed by mail, which is a very small percentage of people, that individual should again go on the portal and provide the information requested if they want to receive the check through direct deposit. Now, I will bring this up. There's a lot of fraudulent characters out there right now, right? People are trying to run scams. They're calling people saying, "Hey, give me your bank account. I'm with the IRS, so we can send you your check electronically." Folks, don't provide people anything. No, IRS is not going to be asking any of those questions. Go on the IRS website. The only thing that could occur is you're going to be notified that a check is coming. Again, and if you have questions, go on the irs.gov website. That will lead you where you want to go, or call my office.
Dan, I know you have a great relationship with the president and the administration. Have you been in contact with any of their task force and getting up-to-date information on this COVID problem?
Every day, the White House and his team are incredible. I speak with Dr. Fauci at least twice a week. We speak with the CDC director. Today, I was on a call with Steve Mnuchin going over this, personally asking him certain questions about, frankly, about the new Main Street plan that's for mid-sized businesses. They're making themselves extremely available. We also had a Republican leadership call with Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise and our leadership. So there's a lot of information coming out, and I'm very, very impressed for a private sector guy to say and by their responsiveness. And that's the president. That's the president's White House. He wants to deliver answers. He wants to make things easy. What occurred on a call just a couple of days ago, while we were on the call, a member of Congress said banks would be a lot better off if they could use their own loan applications rather than the SBA applications. Steve Mnuchin said, yes, it's something we're working on. Secretary of the Treasury, Mark Meadows, the new chief of staff for the president, came back within 5 minutes and he said, done. We're sending an email out to all the banks. They can use their own applications. So that in itself made things a lot easier.
It's amazing when you have a businessman running some things. Where are we going from here, Dan?
We've got we got to keep doing what we're doing and do it a little bit better, right? I mean, treat the social distancing seriously, and be as productive as we can along the way. There's a lot of good things happening from our hospitals. Our caregivers have done a phenomenal job in minimizing the level of the symptoms, the seriousness, the number of fatalities that we've had in Pennsylvania. It's been a terrible amount, but the projections are higher. I'm not going to put things in past tense yet, because as I said, I think we're at our peak or even a little bit beyond it. So that what we have to start talking about, we have to continue to care for people, make sure hospitals have what they need, the funding they need and such. And then we got to start a soft opening of this this economy. Pennsylvania, along with other states, of course, has had a significant slowdown, a very deliberate slowdown, which our federal legislation has been intended to provide people the money, right, and businesses so they survive, so they get through this, and then they're prepared for the recovery. Frankly, what's been done by the Wolf administration added a lot more stress to that by ordering the closing down of many businesses, regardless of the level of safety standards that they would maintain. And look, I think what the Wolf administration attempted to do was to save lives and to keep people safe, and I get all that. But I don't believe that they should be mutually exclusive. I think you can have a safe work environment and keep people and allow people to work. I think you can keep an economy not flourishing, but at least surviving while maintaining the highest level of safety for people. And we're going to try to work with the Wolf administration moving forward that they embrace safety more than so-called life-sustaining businesses, as long as there's a high level of safety. It's so imperative that and again, the Wolf administration has been responsive. They've been available. They've been good in that way. But we need to do things better if we want our economy to not fall apart and again shut down rather than slow down. And it's important. It's very important matter for this week and for the following week.
There's a lot of things that you're doing behind the scenes that people don't know, such as your conversations with the White House and the connections that you have and able to help your district. We're available to you, as you know, just giving us information and letting people feel comfortable and secure during these times, and we thank you for that.
Thank you, Sam. It's all about rising to the occasion. And I have to say, in spite of you hear about the scammers and this and that, I'm so proud of the people of Pennsylvania. We're doing really well. For every thing that you hear is negative, you hear 10 to 20 acts of kindness. And we just got to keep on doing it. And we'll have brighter days ahead.
Thank you, Congressman. Folks, remember 24/7 SSP TV. All this information is extremely important. Any information you need from the Congressman, you go to his website, and he's more than happy to give you as much information as possible. We'll see you next time.